Well, we're back again, talking about Mitch Marner. I am so done with this conversation.
Welcome to The Hockey Dad, Leafs Reactions.
Now I get it. I'm a bit of a hypocrite. I say I'm done with the conversation on Mitch Marner, and yet here I am making a video on Mitch Marner. Talked about him plenty. Leafs Nation's talked about him plenty. Everywhere has talked about him plenty and what the Maple Leafs should do. And yeah, I'm tired of it, but I need to get this rant off my chest. So, 1, I'm tired of Twitter, tired of TSN, Sportsnet, heck, reading about it on every sport platform possible, The Athletic, Hockey Buzz, the Steve Dangle podcast, everything. I'm getting bored of this now, but it's a hot topic. Toronto lost again, and Mitch Marner looks to be taking all the blame. So let's break down why this rant has started, where it's come from, and where it's going. So this all started from listening to the Steve Dangle podcast / seeing this tweet by Adam Wild. It was actually like a retweet or a quoted tweet from Active Stick or at the Oak Leafs. An $11 million goal scorer shouldn't need an $11 million playmaker to be successful. An $11 million playmaker shouldn't need an $11 million goal scorer to be successful. He said this is a legitimate great tweet / question. They talk about it on Steve Dangle podcast. And honestly, I feel this is just bitter Leafs fans. I'm one of them. I'm bitter that they lost. But don't take away what Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews can do. They even said on it, like, Austin Matthews is the main one there. Does he need an $11 million playmaker? No. He's showed that he can score with a $7 million playmaker, if you want to call William Nylander that, but he's also a goal scorer on his wing. But the other way around, Mitch Marner, he showed that he can put up points with JT, who's an $11 million player. Okay. Last 2 seasons, $11 million centerman. Did phenomenal with Mitch Marner. However, what about Mitch Marner's first 2 years? First year in the league, 63 points. Second year in the league, was it 69 or something like that? His point totals kept going up. He actually has more point total than Austin Matthews in his first couple years. Yeah, he played more games. Okay, so he got me on there. But he's trended upwards, and like they said on the podcast, oh, well, we're paying $11 million for the regular season. Well, to be fair, you need to do well in the regular season before you can get in the playoffs. Do I agree with this? No, of course not. You don't need $11 million to go with $11 million. It's a luxury the Leafs have, and in fairness to them, they thought the salary cap was going to go up. It didn't. But that one playoff loss, you can't just throw it on Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews. We've watched it. I broke it down. I wasn't impressed with them. As in, I wasn't impressed that they couldn't score. But I'm not going to take anything away from them that they didn't have chances. Matthews with bars and posts. Marner with great chances, some good feeds. Yes, it looked like at times he was trying too hard or trying to do too much. Maybe he's trying to live up to that $11 million. Or he felt like he needs to bring it on himself to get the Leafs going. I'm fine with that, right? He's 23 years old, 24. You develop these things. Michael Jordan didn't do shit in his first few seasons. Great regular seasons. Playoffs, they went crap. And what did they do? Oh, they brought in players around him to make him better, right? Crosby, first season, didn't make the playoffs. At other times, when him and Malkin and Letang and all of them, they struggled. They didn't get rid of Letang. They didn't get rid of Malkin. They didn't get rid of Crosby. They brought in guys. They brought up AHL players that could come in and help them, support them. Tampa Bay, if you look at them, yes, they make less money. I'm still going to say being not impacted on tax as much definitely helps out the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are $18 million over the cap this playoffs. They lost to Columbus 2 years ago, and on SDP, they're talking about how Well, they won the cup next year. What happens if the Leafs win the cup next year? Does all this conversation go away? They had a phenomenal season. Going through the regular season, all you heard was this team has depth. This is a great team. This is their chance. And what was the big thing that happened to them? The depth wasn't there at center, which they needed. Kerfoot did phenomenal stepping up, but you had no one then to step up into the third line role. So that's what it was, in my opinion. Yeah, your top goal scorers didn't score. They didn't. But guess what? Winnipeg's top goal scorers didn't score. If you're watching this Montreal-Vegas series, they're getting all their points from the defense, Vegas. Maybe Montreal is just that team this year. They're just that team that make everything more difficult. They put you in ruts. Like last night, if it wasn't for, they got Braden McNabb scored late in the game, and then Waugh was the one who scored to give them the OT winner. It's not the big guns right now. It's everyone else. It's these complementary players, and the Leafs' complementary players didn't give them much. Joe Thornton struggled. Wayne Simmons struggled. Engvall, Mikheyev, all these other guys didn't give them much. I'm going to give it to Galchenyuk. Getting him, he played well, other than that, obviously, terrible turnover in Game 5. But what these teams did was, they have the big guys. They have, I know the Leafs have, over 50% of their forwards based on those four. But majority of their points and everything comes from the big four. So you need to get complementary players who are cheap. And why not get some experience as well? All right? Take a look at the AHL. Bring them in there. Have a go. That's how Pittsburgh has been so good and consistent in the playoffs, even though they've lost the last 3 seasons or whatever in the first round. They're bringing in other players to get them time, help them develop into the NHL, and maybe it's just a fresh look. I think that's what the Toronto Maple Leafs really need to do. So no, in my opinion, $11 million player, goal scorer, playmaker, does not need another one. However, if you have it, take advantage of it. And with that said, for me, it's obviously on Marner and Matthews for not bringing it in the playoffs, but it's also on Sheldon Keefe and the management team there for lack of adjustments. Mitch Marner can get points playing with anyone. Matthews can do the same thing. You're the coach. Make the adjustments. Just like the power play, you need to make the adjustments quicker. And if that wasn't working, then change it up even more. I'm going to give it to them. They did adjust the power play a bit. Some success, some not. All right, but maybe you need to now focus on tactics and strategies when you actually have it in the zone. I'm still talking about that slap shot. You need a defenseman who has a slap shot. Yes, this is still a rant, and it's not going to really flow. But I do think it's on Keefe. I don't think he made the adjustment in time. I would have loved to see Matthews and Willie put them together and just see how Mitch Marner does on the second line. I will give this, though. Watching the games, when they put Matthews, Marner, and Nylander together, total domination. Absolutely total domination. Still couldn't score. Tons of chances. But is Matthews going to shoot that shooting percentage? Unlikely. Going forward. So what do you do? Well, look what's happening everywhere else to be successful. If it's not the big guys, then you have good complementary players. And that's what the Leafs need to do, in my opinion. And I don't look at Tampa Bay because those cheeky buggers, Kucherov just comes in and he's going to get 40 points this year in the playoffs and probably win the bloody Stanley Cup. They're an outlier. They're an outlier. Just like Montreal and not having the big-time money, they're an outlier as well. Oh, but looking at it, you got young guys coming in who are on the low contracts, entry-level contracts. So you have the cap space there. You got that fresh eyes, want to prove themselves. That's exactly what the Leafs need to do. Tampa Bay side, they got guys to take less, which I know that's a big thing. It's a big chat. Of course, Marner, Matthews taking less would have been phenomenal, but they didn't. However, Braden Point's contract's up at the end of this season. And damn right he'll be looking for north of $9 million. And before people start comparing Point and Marner, production-wise in the regular season, Marner trumps Point. He does. And some might say, well, Point's a center, blah, 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 blah. Marner plays in all situations. All situations. And he produces more than Point. Just throwing that out there. 6.75 compared to 10.903. Yeah, it's a big difference. However, talk to me again at the end of 2022 when Point signs for $9+ million. If somehow they get him for less, well done, Tampa Bay. Well done, Tampa Bay. Anyway, I'm going to finish this off with, like I said, you can be successful with players, $11 million, $11 million, etc. Past teams with high-value players have been able to do it. They've struggled. Pittsburgh have struggled at times. They've adjusted. Washington, same thing. Players have struggled in the playoffs. Eventually get over the hump. Crosby and Malkin, they had playoff failures in production, etc. What did the Pens do? They adjusted. They brought in other players to complement them. That's what we need to see from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Anyway, that's my rant. That's over. I'm done. I'm hopefully done with this conversation. But who knows? Something else might irk me, and I'll be back just spouting absolute BS again next week. All right, that's it for me. If you like this video, please click like. If you want to subscribe. Take care, everyone. Be safe. And as always, no matter what, even when you're upset with them, go Leafs go.